Welcome to the Music Festivals podcast. This is the show that helps you get to know music festivals, festival venues, and campgrounds before you go. I'm your host, Neighbor Nate, and I'm glad you're in the neighborhood. Hey, yo, neighbors. Welcome back to episode number 32 of the Music Festivals podcast. This is the show that helps you get to know music festivals, festival venues, and campgrounds before you go. And as always, I'm your host, Neighbor Nate. And this is the official end of season 2, 32 episodes in, which is crazy to me. I actually just returned on Monday from an amazing trip to Steamboat Springs, Colorado for Winter Wondergrass 2025. It was excellent. It was a great festival. It's a very unique festival. It's bougie, right? It's a bougie festival. But I was able to join the media team, and hats off to all of the folks with Bonfire who let me invade their media booth and store my gear. I had every wristband that you could possibly get at the festival because I'm not quite sure they knew what to do with me. I had press, I had staff. I got to fly drones each day, which was so much fun in Steamboat because you can't get a better backdrop to a festival than a ski mountain in the Colorado Rockies. It was amazing. I can't spend a lot of time on it today because we have other stuff to get to, but look for a full recap of Winter Wondergrass 2025 next week, coming out on Friday. Lots of drone footage, lots of clips, and get the whole breakdown of how the festival works because this one is really unique. So if you are going to go, especially if you're not in Colorado, there's a lot of Colorado folks that go to this. If you're out of state, you're going to want to watch the episode because there's some logistical things that I think are going to help you. My first day there was a little chaotic, but it's definitely a doable festival. So stay tuned for that next week. Our guest this week is going to be headlining the up-and-coming Sunshine Get Down Music and Arts Festival. And again, that is at the Florida Sand Music Ranch from April 10th through the 12th. His psychedelic funk band has its beginnings in Baltimore, Maryland, and they might just have a slight obsession with some birds. So I am delighted to welcome to the show Mr. Alex Petropoulos, Gator, from Pigeons Playing Ping Pong. Welcome to the show.
Hello. Yeah. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, no, I'm delighted we get to do this, and I appreciate you jumping on. Lots to talk about today, so I want to jump right into it. So, you're not the original drummer. You joined back in 2015, and you took over for Dan Schwartz. But you're actually from New Hampshire, so I'm curious, how did you connect with these guys? Like, what bridged the gap to get you in the band?
Yeah. No, it's crazy that that's already 10 years ago. It
Right.
feels still way more recent than that. But no, I grew up playing, performing, all throughout New England and the East Coast. And in college, I went to school, University of Hartford, and when I was there, formed a band with my brother and a great guitarist named Ari Lesser, and he's from this area of Maryland. And so one summer in college, he was like, "Let's go down to my hometown. We'll take a road trip, play some shows down there. We'll open for this new upcoming band, Pigeons Playing Ping Pong." So we played a couple shows opening for them, got to know Jeremy a little bit. And then a couple years went by after that. After graduating college, I wasn't sure if, music full time was going to work out with where I was at and everything. So I got settled with a great job. And, right when I got settled, I got a call from Jeremy saying, "Hey, remember me?" Our drummer Dan, he's moving forward with some other plans, and still have a great relationship with Dan. We still keep in it. Pretty sure he's coming to one of our shows coming up, and he made the transition very easy and helped me with the tunes, and it was all felt very good, and it was a very easy transition, fortunately. So
That's really cool. I have to imagine that conversation, like getting that call, was it an immediate yes for you, or was it like, you know what, I got to think about it because I just started a new thing? Like, how did that go?
I definitely played it off as, I'll have to think about it, but it was definitely a yes in the sense of like, all right, this, like, I'm still gonna, sit down with this, think about it, but yeah, this is what I've been working for forever. And I still enjoyed the other job, but even chatting with my parents immediately, they're like, "You got to do it. The time's now." You don't want to look back later in life and have any sort of regret as when it relates to, I could have fulfilled a passion in life that I chose not to, whether it works out or not. So
Yeah,
I had great support.
that's awesome. And like you said, it's been about 10 years now. So I'm a Goose fan, right? And you guys are similar to them in that you do a lot of improvisational jams. And I know that with Goose, Cotter joined the band in 2023, and that kind of significantly changed. I think it significantly changed the way that Goose jams. So how did that play out for you guys when you joined the band? Like what happened with a lot of the improvisational stuff? Did you bring a different dynamic to it? Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's a great question. Dan was a great player, and I think that yeah, we have a pretty different style. I think he was a lot more like pocket with the groove, and I'm kind of allowed kind of more different feels and different in styles to incorporate. And you know at first, you try to, when joining a project like that, the first thing is you want to try to fit and play what the band's used to, but also add in your style at the same time. And fortunately the other guys in the band were very open to, there might be some parts here and there where it's like, all right, we kind of like sticking to what we had there, but they were very much, add your flavor, add your sound. And even these different little stylistic, personality differences on the kit, they allowed different avenues to be explored. I love a lot of like Latin-y Afrobeat music, so that allowed a lot of those type of jams to come through. I also love a lot of heavy music, and
Yeah.
since then we've kind of evolved with some edgier rock, jams and songs. So it was a good mixture of learning the tunes, making sure they feel good, but also being able to add in my own flavor and personality, which they were very open to that, which is great.
Yeah, that's cool. Whatever, they give you a little bit of creative freedom as well, especially like when
Yeah,
the guys are already kind of established in what they're doing and whatnot.
for sure.
You guys released Day and Time last year, and that is, as far as I can tell, I think that's studio album number 7. Does that
Yeah.
sound about right?
Oh yeah.
So, how many of the albums are you actually on?
I believe this was my fourth. Presto, Pizzazz, Perspective, and Day and Time. Yeah. So
Okay.
it's been a great. I love the studio, and I love the studio experience. We've been able to work with a great engineer, Steve Wright, and he's got us all dialed in, and it's a very comfortable environment. So
You brought up something cool. So this is the first album in the studio albums, at least, because there's a bunch of like 3 to 5 track stuff out there, but this is the first one that does not start with a P.
yeah.
Why was that?
Yeah, so all the records, dating back to Psychology, Pleasure, Presto, Pizzazz, Perspective, might have missed one, but no reason timing wise in particular. It was, a fun thing at the time, and we still had a bunch of good P names in the bank, but we also want to continue to put out albums for the rest of our career, and we didn't want to pigeonhole ourselves
Nice.
get
Well
in a
played.
situation where
Yeah.
we still wanted to. We didn't want to settle with a name just because of the P thing. We still wanted to put out a name and that we thought worked well and was a good reflection of the album, and not just selecting something because it was. So I guess we just moved on from that one in a sense, but
Yeah.
Day and Time just felt right. It was coming off of, we're getting back into the swing of things. The pandemic happened. We were just kind of looking to start fresh, and Day and Time just kind of felt like a fresh name.
That's cool. That's cool. And I love the studio albums, but again, with what little familiar I have with you guys, it's only been about a year and a half. I always think that you guys are really a live band, right? Like you take jams in all kinds of different ways. And I've never really heard, I'm a Nugs subscriber, so I've never really heard 2 of the same sets. You've got amazing tours coming up, this year. So just some dates I looked at. You're on Jam Cruise. You guys are actually playing in Steamboat like a few days after Winter Wondergrass. So I'll be out there for Wondergrass. And
Oh,
then I
awesome.
wish I could stay extra, but I won't be able to do that. Cleveland House of Blues is coming in my backyard. All Good Now in June, and then Dome Fest at the New River Gorge. So for you personally, you said you like the studio albums, but do you prepare any differently for the live stuff, or where would you guys say, are you more of a live performing touring type of band, or how do you balance the two between studio time and the live stuff?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'd say I would agree overall that, the band and it just and everything it encompasses, I think is definitely more centered around the live show. Uh, just in terms of musically when it comes to improv and just risk taking musically and just taking things out there and work ebb and flow with the crowd, and a lot of it is just with the energy the crowd's giving back, and it creating a journey, not to mention like our light show. We have a
Yeah,
great lighting director, Manny Newman, and he works with a ton of great acts. But just kind of creating a show. Music is always the music's always first, but we always we love to pour everything into it. We're very you know I guess almost theatrical, almost we very much get into it, and
yeah,
we're always feeding off of each other, and we love interacting with the crowd, and so we try to create more of a show, and that's definitely something that's hard to portray in a studio album.
yeah,
It's not to say that we don't love the studio as much, but I think we definitely thrive in that live aspect. One fun challenge about the studio, though, is just taking that feel and trying to put as much of that live aspect into the studio. That's why when we record, we all get in the room together, and all our initial recordings and especially the drums and bass, everything comes live, and then we'll
yeah,
go back and we'll fix things and punch things in here and there. But even our approach to recording, we've tried to just incorporate as much of that. We've even put lights in our studio rooms
oh yeah,
just to kind of have more of that live atmosphere, so it's not just like bright white light in a stale atmosphere. So, and it's also fun to take songs that typically are a 20-minute jam and edit them down to a studio you know type song. I think that's a fun experience. We'll choose some songs here and there on albums to still that will still improv on, even for the actual finished product, and they'll be a little longer, but in general we're treating the studio songs in almost a different it's almost a different setting, a different feel. We'll kind of edit them to
yeah.
be a little more structured, not as free flowing, sometimes as free flowing, but it's just a different experience. But I would agree with you that if you're truly curious about the band, and definitely see us live.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely recommend that people do because it's a great show.
Thanks.
With that, you talk about like the dynamic between the audience, and I want to talk about the fan base in a little bit because you guys have this crazy, super engaged fan base. But that dynamic when you're in the live show, two questions is one, when you really get in the flow of it, what does that feel like? And then when you go into the studio with even with the lights and stuff, but without the audience there, how do you then resurrect that feeling? Like how do you bring it back so you can lay something down that has that live feel to it?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, to the first part, we very it's a mixture of playing very much in the moment, but also I think very visually. I kind of like try to sit back and view the show as like one you know body of water almost, and we're kind of creating waves, and when the energy picks up on jams, and dynamically we're getting you can feel it in the crowd, and then that might tell you, all right, this next jam we'll bring it down and kind of create more of a relaxed kind of floaty feel, and then
Yeah.
that'll allow us to, all right, let's punch it back into gear and do more of like a punchy dance jam. So and it'll change night to night. Obviously our set list changes night to night, but even how we approach a jam, just if we have one song, let's say Ocean Flows, and it has a jam improv section in that same part of the song, it doesn't mean the feel of that jam is going to be the same. One time it
Yeah.
might be more of an island feel, or more of an edge. And a lot of time it does get dictated with the crowd, and just, it sounds weird, but it's very much, you can very much feel the energy of a crowd, whether they're, you know, a little more spacey or a little more, heavy and into it. And it's
Yeah.
fun to work with that. But it also creates the challenge of when you don't have a crowd in the studio. So, we'll try to do it a different of way, a bunch of different ways. If there is kind of an improv open jam on a studio record, we'll record a bunch of different ones, and we'll all constantly listen back. And it is a lot more calculated than taking those live risks, but in the process of recording, we'll still try to do that. It's just the beauty of in the studio. If it doesn't quite land, you can
Yeah.
go back and do it again.
Fix it, right?
But yeah, it really is a challenge. We try to, gear wise, try to set everything up like we would a show. And, we still use that communication we have live, the eyes, the little cues to really put ourselves in that spot. But yeah, it is a challenge for sure.
I think
It's a
as a
fun,
fan, that's one of the most fun things to watch is watching you guys on stage communicating with each other. And after you see a band enough, you can see like when something was different and somebody tosses a glance somewhere and it's like, okay, we're going to go with that now. So it's really entertaining to watch that kind of unfold and the dynamic between you guys. We talk about festivals. So Dome Fest has been going on since 2009, and that was previously hosted at Legend Valley, but you guys are now moving to New River Gorge as of this year. What drove that? Tell me about the shift to, because there was no Dome Fest in 24, correct?
yeah, there was a year taken off there. Yeah, Dome Fest is great. It was started by our guitarist Jeremy back, I believe, when they were still in college, starting the band at University of Maryland. There was a local kind of park area that had kind of a half shell dome stage, and they had it
Oh, that's
there, hence the name Dome Fest. It was
yeah,
all under like this big domed stage, and it was for the first few years always there. So it was kind of like the staple was like the dome. So
yeah.
hence the name Dome Fest. And it's changed locations a bunch of times. After it grew from there, it went to another spot. Fort Royal Farm in Bedford, Pennsylvania. It hosted a couple times. I remember it was at one time, it was at the site of the original All Good Festival.
Okay.
And then for a couple of years, it moved to Legend Valley, which we love that site. We've played there a bunch of other festivals such as Resonance and a couple other great
Did you guys
ones.
ever do Dark Star Jubilee? Was that on your list?
We haven't played that one. I'm aware of it. It's a great
Yeah.
festival. But yeah, we've played there a bunch. I love that stage.
Yeah.
There's something fun about it. It's got the concrete floor or a concrete landing on the stage, which just drum wise, it creates just this cannon snap, and it's fun to play on that stage. Everything is very like punchy, and we love that spot. And just we've changed locations, and as far as I guess scheduling and just trying new things. Jeremy and our singer Greg, who they work very closely on still on running the festival, just moved
Yeah.
on to a new location, and it's in August now, and it should be a great time. We'll have a bunch of great other bands there.
Well, and New River Gorge, I mean, you got whitewater rafting. There's all kinds of stuff to do. Maybe Legend could have kept you guys if they would have taken like a big pigeon head and put it on the Brachiosaurus, whatever it is.
Yeah, one of the
That's
yeah,
good stuff, right?
we did
Uh,
love the dinosaurs.
it is pretty cool. It's so I want to go back to the fan base too, because clearly they're all going to be at Dome Fest, but this is the flock. So tell me about the relationship between you guys as the band and as individual musicians with the fan base, the super engaged fan base, right? What does that dynamic look like? Like how much are you guys talking with fans, things like that?
Yeah, it's there's no right or wrong way to do it as far as fan engagement. There's bands I love that like there's no connection there, and it creates this cool like mysterious mystique. And there's other bands that are always out there and chatting and networking hands on, and that's great too, especially as a fan. So we've always taken the approach as just being very face to face and open with our fans. We have a great group called The Flock, and it's a community. It's a lot of the times at our shows and tours, you'll see familiar faces the entire run, and you're like, how do they do it night to night? They're always in that spot. And when we first started and when we were touring 10, 12 years ago, when it was very much just us starting, and we didn't have money for hotel rooms and everything. So after shows, we would go out and talk to our fans and find couches to crash on.
Nice.
And that
Nice.
alone creates relationships. Or every time you go back to Cleveland or Detroit, you go, stay with it, and it creates relationships. And that goes along with our fans too. A lot of fans will connect through our group, the Flock, whether it's on the Facebook page or whatever, and they'll create relationships. And Dome Fest is kind of like the Flock meetup, and it's we've had it's a very much a great music festival with big time bands, but at the same time it feels very much like we're just all like hanging out with our friends and kind of reuniting. And still, as the band has grown, we've still maintained that relationship. We're still, we do meet and greets before pretty much every show, where we'll hang out and talk with fans. And a lot of times it's familiar faces, a lot of times it's new faces, and we love it. It's really helped us grow and get feedback from them, and it's a great relationship.
I know as a fan, the advent of Nugs, especially around the pandemic, we had mentioned the pandemic earlier. That I think Nugs got me through the pandemic, right? The ability to couch tour and follow these bands that you love and see just about every performance. And you guys are huge on Nugs. A lot of stuff is out there. Can you talk a little bit about the relationship with Nugs and what has that done? How has that impacted the business of the band? Because you guys do this to make a living, right? So
Yeah.
what has Nugs done for you in terms of that couch tour live streaming aspect?
Yeah, it's great. That relationship we had with Nugs has been fantastic, because even before I was touring and playing, I was a subscriber. I was always listening to, the new Humphrey shows night to night, and
Yeah,
all these other great bands. And as a fan, it's amazing, because it's tough to wait that year and a half for a new album, and always be following set lists, and to be able to, like, night to night or week to week, be able to join in on that experience and listen to, because obviously in the jam band scene, or whatever you want to call it, whether there's a lot of improv, it changes night to night, pretty much new set lists night to night. And you see it and you want to feel it, you're like, I really wanted to catch that one. And to be able to go back and listen to the songs in that setting, and it's just fun to, like, archive and remember, like, oh man, House of Blues Boston 2011 November show, that was great. It's like it creates a whole new world of following music, and being in that setting and feeling like you were there. And yeah, it's gotten us through. We still are subscribers, we still use it all the time. And whether it's just the audio, we've also used live video Nug streams a lot. And
yeah.
it's awesome just to be able to kind of put yourself there, and as much as you can.
The live video streams, it's interesting because like for a lot of me, a lot of my Saturday nights, instead of watching a movie or something like that, are now dominated by watching a live stream on Nugs because it's just on, and why wouldn't it?
Same. Yeah, same
Uh,
here.
that's awesome. So you guys are going to be headlining the Sunshine Get Down. Schedule is going to be released next week. I think Turner's going to come out with that. Again, that's at Florida Sand Music Ranch. Have you been to Brooksville? Have you played at the Florida Sand Ranch before?
No, I've heard great things. We've played in Florida a whole bunch all over. But we're very much looking forward to it. I know we'll have some other friendly bands that we're close with there. Maybe we can do some collabs. And
Yeah.
festivals are great. It's great for the crowd to be able to see different acts, and it's great for us because most of the year when we're touring, we never see our buddies and other bands, and it's just great for everyone to come together and see each other.
Well, and to have an excuse to go to a festival in February of all months is awesome. I'm
Yeah,
in Ohio, so it's decent today, but very much looking forward to getting to the nice weather in Florida and outside.
yeah.
What do you guys have? So again, you do different sets all the time. Have you already started kind of planning the set for that, or is it pretty much on the way there is when we talk about what we're going to play?
Yeah, it will definitely be closer to the date, if we're on like a night to night tour, it's pretty much part of our workflow is, you set up, we, get all our gear ready, sound check. We tour with a backstage setup as well. I have a small drum set and we have little amps that we set up in the green room so that, during dinner and after set break, our guitarist Jeremy will typically compile a good list of songs. He has a archive of every set list we've ever played from every city. So when we go to Ohio or we go to Burlington, Vermont, or wherever, we bring up all our past set lists and we know, all right, don't open with Pop Off, or, we try
Yeah.
not to even repeat it, not only from the night before, but from the last time we were in town, as well as incorporating new songs since then that we've written. So it's very, and then since it is such a in-depth process, it pretty much is part of the night to night. There's a lot of times where, even when we're working on a set list all night, we're not quite sure. It hasn't really been solidified till sometimes 2 minutes before the show. We'll get the set list, which we all work on together, and we all have free reign to put input in. But it's great. It makes it fun.
Yeah.
I would have just as much fun playing the songs night to night, but it creates a new aspect to it to keep things fresh, not only for the crowd but for us as well. And it is fun. But for that, well, we might not know till we're walking on stage.
Right. You do anything for 10 years, I think keeping it fresh is like super important because, just it gets stale after a while. You get bored with it.
Right.
I imagine that the flock would really love to get their hands on that spreadsheet.
Yeah.
See what's
See
there.
all the bust outs. And as far as rehearsing, we just try to kind of rehearse the songs in general, just so that we can be like, oh, you know what? Let's play, that song we haven't played in 2.5 years, and not be like, oh, well, we got to relearn it.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we're always trying to rehearse and keep things fresh, which is why we tour with the backstage setup. And
Yeah, that's cool. Well, I'm super excited to see you guys down in Florida, and that's coming up here in just a few short months. And I know everybody's going to be thrilled to see you there. So, hats off to you. Before we wrap up, anything on the radar for 2025? Collaborations, new projects? What can you share?
yeah, so we're always right. We love playing, the classics per se. We're always working on new songs, and we have a couple in the bank that we're working on that we're really excited about. So you can expect some new music, probably whether it's live stuff or studio stuff. We're going to try to put out a lot of new things this year, as well as hitting the road hard again. January, we've taken this start of the year to kind of reset and write, and starting in February with Jam Cruise and through March when we hit the West Coast for about 4 weeks, we're not going to be stopping. So we're going to try to push hard this year for sure.
Yeah, it seems like after Steamboat, you guys go west and spend a lot of time out there, and then back east. And I have to imagine that the Jam Cruise is going to be a hell of a lot of fun. So
it'll be fun.
sounds like a terrible experience.
Yeah, it's awful.
Well, I appreciate you joining the podcast, man. I'm excited to see you guys down there, and hats off to you. Keep the jams coming.
Thank you so much for having me, and we'll see you down there.
All right, cheers. That is all we have for this week, neighbors. You can catch Gator and the rest of the Pigeons down at the Florida Sand Music Ranch for the Sunshine Get Down, which is happening April 10th through the 12th. Tickets are on sale now, and you can see that and the full lineup at sunshinegetdown.com. And our friends at Obsession Productions have hooked us up with 2 complimentary 3-day general admission passes that include primitive camping and car pass. So you have a place to park. Total package is valued at about $475. And to get a chance to enter the contest to win those tickets, you need to head over to the website at musicfestivalspodcast.com and sign up for the neighborhood email newsletter. That's going to take your email address. There's a form right on the homepage. Once you get that, you'll see how you can enter that contest to win those tickets. And subscribers to the neighborhood also get access to discount codes from our partners for deals on cool products and some software. And those include outdoorsy.com, Inikim Scooters, Melted Mind Designs, custom tie-dyes, Cast Magic, CapCut, Opus Clip, and Hoem. Hoem makes some pretty interesting little gimbals that you can use on your cell phone. They're great for everybody. So go ahead and sign up for the neighborhood to get access to the codes and your chances to win the contests. But I do appreciate that each of you tune in. This neighborhood just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, with over 5,000 of you who have jumped in and are watching these shows. If that is you, please take a moment to rate the show wherever you're getting it, whether it's on any of the podcast networks or YouTube. But that is all I have for you this week. As always, I am Neighbor Nate, and I hope to be your neighbor at a festival very, very soon.